This is the third of my tutorial videos about how to paint the Doom 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight Miniatures, if you're not particularly good at painting, and make them look really good. So today I'm going to be doing the Possessed Soldier, and you're going to end up making him look like this. He's dirty, he's grimy, he looks a bit like a zombie. You get the general gist. Again, not very difficult, and he'll look pretty good when you're finished. So first of all, I've again done a base coat in good old primer, Chaos Black. I love it, it's my favourite. Makes him look nice and horrible. Okay, so after base coating them, I'm going to take some Moot Green and do a base coat, pretty much cover him all over with the Moot Green. Now it is a layer paint, so it's a bit thinner than normal paint, but you'll have to do two decent coats. I'm going to use a medium paste brush, and you will say you'll need a fair amount of this on. Again, you don't need to be worried about being too neat. Obviously you are going to be sort of painting his arm and his face and his gun in other colours, so just make sure for the time being the main focus is on getting as much of him covered in the green as possible. And again, you don't need to be too concerned with level coverage, because you're going to be putting a wash on him later that's going to make him look grimy and dirty anyway. So if any of the paint isn't sort of level, equal all around him, you're going to sort of add to that kind of shadow effect on him anyway. So and don't be too bothered about being neat around his feet. You can always go back later. I'll just touch it up with some Abaddon Black. But yeah, the idea just to get a decent coat on him. Make sure there's no, and all of his body, his legs, his arms. Again, you don't need to worry too much about his face here. He goes all around to the back, and also his arm and the gun. So all the rest of him, make sure you get a good coverage on there. So there you go. And when he's dry, I'll come back and give him a second coat. Exactly the same, and then after that we'll come back. As a bit of feedback I've taken on board from my first two videos. People don't really need to see me doing both coats of the same thing. So yeah, I'll come back after this, after I've done the second coat and it's dried, and then we'll move on to doing the detail on him next. The next stage is just to do a couple of the smaller detail areas on him. So we're going to basically paint his face, which is here, and go around the back, and then his arm up to the point that he goes inside the gun. We'll do that with Ceramite White, and then the gun itself, I just give a quick coating over with Leadbelcher. So, let's say with the Ceramite White, mine has turned a bit to jelly, to be honest. But also does mean it's quite easy to keep control of. Now you really don't want much of this on your brush at all, because this is one of the trickier bits there is. And you just want to, I know there's a flat section of his head that you just want to work your way around. And again, the other thing is, you don't have to worry too much in this kind of area. I mean, you're pretty much painting the face of a zombie, right? So if you do paint a little bit too much, it's not a big deal. It's not the neatest in the world, but you just basically want to get these pneumatic coverage in there, just following the line of the helmet. Again, it goes up there a little bit more paint. Just to go in there like that. Now again, I'm completely aware that this doesn't look brilliant. It's a bit like the Mancubus. I'm sort of doing a very similar trick to what I did with him to create kind of a zombified flesh appearance. It'll all become clear at the end. And then, so you've got this shoulder strap and everything between that shoulder strap area. Probably should be using a slightly bigger brush for this. It's quite a bit of surface area to get through. But you are literally just wanting to paint this white colour. This is the Ceramite White. And you just want to get this covered on his arm. Again, first coat's going to look a bit sketchy. Never looks brilliant, the first coat. But what you will get after 2 coats is a nice, decent white finish. You don't want to get too far ahead of myself here. So again, all we're trying to do here, you just paint between that shoulder line there and the gun. Again, I mean, this is kind of a, his arm sort of blends into the gun, so it's fairly open to interpretation where the gun starts and his arm ends, so you can pretty much paint up to whatever point you like. But that's about where I'm going to leave it there. Now, once that's dry, we come back and do a second coat. But what I do find, with me being as impatient as I am, oh, hang on, it looks like we've got a bit of wet green under there. Oh, I guess that's something to keep in mind for future then. Make sure that your paint's dry before you go and do the detail. You can rescue that. There you go. That needs to be dry. Then we'll come back to a second coat, and then it'll be ready to put a wash on him, on the flesh parts, to make this kind of really nice zombified flesh look that I sort of made up. If anybody else did it first, I do apologise for claiming that I made it up, but I'd certainly not seen this done anywhere else. But I get ahead of myself. Next, we need to paint the gun. I can just find my pots of Leadbelcher. There we go. And again, with this stuff, same as most other paints, really, you get a decent amount on the paint. One thing to be wary of actually when using the metallics is that once you've painted using them, you will need to replace the water that you're using to thin your paints in, to dip your brushes in, because you will get very small flecks of metallic shiny pieces floating about in the water, your brush will pick them up and you'll end up with shiny reds, and which is why, you know, you might want the shiny reds and shiny greens, that's fine, but there's not a lot of shiny in this game, that's for sure. And again, all we're looking to do here is just get a decent coating, going right up to the bits we've just painted white for his arms. And try to make sure that we've not got any areas left black, because they will stand out more than anything. And there we go, so he's ready. So we'll leave that to dry and we'll put on a second coat, and then we'll come back to do some shading on him. Now we're going to use two different shade paints. We're going to use Nuln Oil on all of the green parts and silver, and Reikland Fleshshade on the white bits to give him that kind of horrible fleshy colour. So we'll do that first because of it being the smaller of the two areas. Now with this one, I mean with the shades you want to kind of get as much of it on your brush as you can, but with this one, because we're only applying it to a very small area, you still do want to load your brush up, but you just want to cake it on. Again, normally with these shade paints you want to kind of avoid them pouring up. In this case though, you sort of want it to have a good coverage all over the white paint, then you'll end up with that kind of horrible zombified flesh kind of look. So yeah, make sure you layer it on nice and thick. Again, as with all of it, you'll be coming back to do a second coat once it's finished. But for now, just try to get enough on there so that you can sort of see it starting to kind of turn a light pinky brown colour. The main point is just don't leave any of the white showing as white. Okay, so that's that done, and again we'll come back to do a second coat of that as soon as he's finished. And then with the Nuln Oil, go a bit more to town with this, so you can use a slightly bigger brush. Dirty great big brush here, and what you want to do with this is just, again, as you just did with the flesh shade, you want to get a decent amount of your brush and absolutely just cake it all over this guy. The intention here is you're going to be discolouring the green to make it a lot darker than it is currently, and also for the paint to go into all those sort of little lines of detail on the model to bring them out and just generally make him look really good. And again, don't be afraid to really plaster this stuff all over him. The reason why we use the green that we did is to allow, especially for a lot of this stuff going on him, to really dirty him up. And same goes for the gun. You want to just really plaster it on, making sure that you're getting loads in those detail areas. when it dries they'll show up very nicely indeed. And that is pretty much it for this guy. After we've done the second coat, so what you need to do, you need to go away, watch a bit of telly, quick cup of tea. It takes quite a while for this stuff to dry. When it's dried, you do your second coat of paint, exactly the same what we just did there. Second coat, and then once he's dry after his second coat, you will end up with something like this. So thank you very much for watching this one. Thanks a lot.